Explosions on the beaches of Odessa region. There are casualties. Will Zelensky go to negotiations in Alaska? And what are the successes of the armed forces in Sumy region? I'll tell you everything you need to know about the latest events in this broadcast. It's 7:30 on the clock. I'm Irina Kondrachuk, and this is TSN Online. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and of course, be active in the comments so that more people can see news about Ukraine. Let's get started. 3 people were killed on the beaches near Odessa around noon, between the settlements of Zatoka and Karolino Bohaz. A mine exploded about 50 meters from the shore. At that moment, a man was in the water. He sustained fatal injuries. According to the regional administration, 2 more people died in Zatoka. Most likely, the explosions were caused by anti-personnel mines that were washed up onto the shallows after storms. Since the beaches were not officially opened, divers did not inspect the seabed. That's why, for the second month in a row, the authorities have been warning about the dangers of vacationing in these areas. Law enforcement officers are working at the scenes of the tragedies, investigating all the details of the incidents. 2 killed and 5 wounded in Donetsk region. Kostantinivka was shelled by the Russians using drones, MLRS, guided bombs, and artillery. 2 people were wounded. Another person was injured in Markov. In Drushkivka, the occupiers killed a civilian and wounded 2 more. A person was also killed in Seredny. 4 more people were injured in Kupiansk, where an enemy FPV drone hit a civilian car. 3 people were hospitalized following the attack on Kharkiv the day before. In Zaporizhia, as a result of Russian shelling, 3 people were killed and 1 was wounded. The enemy attacked 15 settlements in the region, carrying out nearly 500 strikes. Railway facilities were damaged, including the station in Dnipropetrovsk region, and fires broke out. The on-duty staff survived, according to Ukrzaliznytsia. Several trains are running with delays. The Sinonikivsky district was under heavy attack. Locals heard dozens of explosions. 2 private houses were damaged. All the fires were brought under control. Overall, during the night, air defenders destroyed 21 enemy drones. Our defense forces shot down 70 Russian drones last night. In total, the enemy launched 100 drones across Ukraine. The deadly mopeds flew in from Russia's Shadolovo, Kursk, Primorsko-Akhtarsk, and temporarily occupied Crimea. 30 drones hit 12 different locations. This happened in the frontline regions of Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv, and in 3 locations, the debris from downed drones fell. The Air Force carried out a bombing strike on a Russian battalion command post near Oleshki. That's in the Kherson region. About 25 occupiers were eliminated. At least 11 were wounded, according to the official report from the General Staff. According to intelligence, among those eliminated were the commander, the chief of staff, the head of the engineering service, and the commander of one of the battalion's platoons. The defense forces have liberated another settlement in the Sumy region. The village of Basilivka, which is almost on the border with Russia, is now under the control of Ukrainian forces. This was stated by the General Staff. Units of the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment and the 24th Separate Assault Battalion were involved in the operation to liberate the settlement. Ukrainian soldiers eliminated 18 invaders, and this is already the 3rd settlement liberated by the defense forces in the Sumy region. Before this, the invaders were driven out of Kindrativka and Andrivka. At the same time, the occupiers are concentrating their forces around Pokrovsk. According to Viktor Tryabov, spokesperson for the Dnipro Operational Strategic Group, up to 100,000 Russian soldiers have been deployed in this direction and are pressing on the city from 2 sides. Already today, new enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups tried to break into the city. A significant number of saboteurs were spotted in the Lazernyi and Shakhtarsky neighborhoods, according to the defense forces. At the same time, the General Staff is refuting the Russian fake about the village of Dakhny, which the occupiers allegedly captured. The defense forces control this settlement, although the situation in this section of the Pokrovsk front is quite difficult. Overall, during the past day, 160 combat clashes were recorded, with the vast majority occurring in the Pokrovsk, Lyman, and Novopavlivka directions. And now about enemy losses. Here are today's figures from the General Staff. The Russian occupiers lost 950 soldiers killed and wounded over the past day. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian army has lost more than 1,063,000 soldiers. Our defenders have also destroyed enemy equipment. More than 11,000 tanks and 23,000 armored fighting vehicles have been destroyed in the fighting. And also 31,343 enemy artillery systems, with 70 of them taken out just in the last day. Nearly 50,500 tactical level drones and 3,556 cruise missiles have been neutralized. As of today, 421 Russian planes and 340 helicopters have been shot down. And at sea, 28 ships and boats and 1 submarine have been neutralized. A rescue operation right before the enemy's eyes. Under heavy enemy fire a year and a half ago, in February 2024, between Verbov and Robotyne in Zaporizhia, a Muscovite missile struck a Ukrainian Mi-17 helicopter from the 11th Separate Army Aviation Brigade. The aircraft went down closest to the positions of Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance troops from the 118th Mechanized Brigade. There was no time to think or hesitate, the soldiers assure. Despite the relentless explosions of Russian shells, mines, and glide bombs, the drone operators rushed to rescue the helicopter crew. The soldiers of the 118th Brigade are now carrying out missions on the Orikhiv-Tokmak section of the front, and they desperately need drones to work around the clock. The QR code on your screens during the report is specifically for raising funds for them. So, if you can, please don't stay on the sidelines. Let's all come together to help our defenders effectively destroy the enemy.
They were shelling 82mm mortar, 120mm mortar. The barrel was firing. They were dropping shells.
On February 24th, in the steppes of Zaporizhia at the Robotyne salient, the artillery barrage was non-stop, and Ukrainian helicopters, in order to support our infantry, approached enemy positions almost point blank.
2 helicopters were working. On the way back, we didn't even hear how one of the helicopters went down, because there's always either artillery or mortars firing at us.
Dentist, a reconnaissance drone pilot from the 118th Mechanized Brigade, was just bringing his Mavic back from Robotyne after another mission when he spotted a burning Ukrainian helicopter on the ground.
I saw a lot of smoke. I flew closer. It was our helicopter that had been shot down. I zoomed in, flew closer. There were 2 pilots lying there.
Here, it looks like a body. Two, yeah, we see them. One is Kia, the other is WIA.
We made the decision. We had to go for evacuation because I saw one of the pilots moving. He was alive.
Run over there. Cat ran, go over there.
He walked out on his own 2 feet, and not just once on the Robotyne salient, every field and every tree line. The chief sergeant of the 118th Brigade and a close friend of Dentist admits the rescue operation could very well have been a one-way trip.
If they are wounded, if they've taken out a position or shot down a bird, then they wait for the evac. They won't finish them off. They wait for the evac, and when the evac comes in, that's when they start shelling everyone. You have to have character for that. You need strength and courage to go in knowing it's 50-50 whether you'll make it back.
Fully aware of all the risks, 2 groups of fighters from the 118th simultaneously ran toward the helicopter wreckage because they had spotted at least 2 crew members on the ground.
I'll be honest, it was scary. It was open terrain, no trees, nothing. And then the shelling started. We dropped down, got up, dropped down, got up.
They tried to reach the Mi-17 as quickly as possible, Dentist recalls, because it was unclear from the air what condition the crew was in, and every second could be decisive.
The first guys grabbed the young man. He was moving and helping with one leg. And they went first. We loaded the second, the seriously wounded one, onto a stretcher and started to carry him out. But it was really muddy, and the wheels kept getting stuck. We couldn't get him out. So we decided to just pick him up and carry him out ourselves. We had just lifted him up, and I could already hear the outgoing fire. Well, we realized then that they were going to come after us.
At some point, after making it most of the way to the shelter, Dentist and his comrade realized they had no strength left. They needed help.
I ran to get help. Well, ran is a bit of an exaggeration. I saw a little hole, fell in, spotted a crater from a KAB, crawled in, and made my way to the dugout. And about 30 seconds later, a shell hit the dugout directly.
Dentist's comrades found him and dug him out as soon as the shelling stopped. At that time, the Mi-17 flight engineer, Captain Alexander Bykov, was already being transported to a rear stabilization point. The helicopter crew commander, Major Vadim Pakateyev, was severely wounded and did not survive during the evacuation. The operation to evaluate the helicopter's pilot-navigator, Captain Vsevolod Ivansov, who died instantly at the moment the aircraft crashed, was prepared by his comrades for over a month.
It doesn't matter which unit a comrade is from. We don't leave our own behind.
And that was no less of a difficult mission, again under constant enemy fire.
The three of us went, me, the Frenchman, and 33rd, and we took the path. It was clear as day. A plane flew right at us and dropped 2 KABs. It's about to get really loud. That one hit just now. You could see it, bang, bang.
To lift the debris that had trapped the body of brother-in-arms Ivansov, the aviation rescuers of the 11th Brigade of Army Aviation, together with Ivanovich, carry heavy tools for more than 3 kilometers to the crash site.
Somewhere around here. Yeah. We'll move it in this spot.
To free the body of their fallen comrade from under the wreckage, the soldiers worked right out in the open field under enemy fire for many hours straight. Aviation struck at Barcelona. On the way, Serhiy found it. Serhiy, unpack it.
We needed both a jack and a pry bar. This job took us about 6 to 8 hours out in the open field. The guys did great. Even though they hold the ranks of major and lieutenant colonel, they still went after their comrade.
Taking a huge risk, but from the crash site of the Mi-17, the Ukrainian soldiers ultimately recovered all of their own.
We made it. We got out. May they be remembered, those men.
From the southern section of the front, in Zaporizhia, Alexander Motornyai, Alexander Shayin, and Vitaly Ovsyannikov. TSN 1+1.
Another oil refinery was on fire last night in Russia. The unmanned systems forces of the armed forces of Ukraine attacked the Saratov oil refinery. That's the report from our general staff. Residents of the city have massively posted footage of the strikes online. The videos show powerful explosions at the plant, flames, and smoke. Local authorities have confirmed that there is damage at one of the industrial facilities. The Saratov oil refinery is one of the key facilities in Russia's fuel infrastructure, and in particular, it supplies petroleum products to the occupying forces. Its annual processing capacity is up to 7 million tons of oil. Notably, the people of Saratov watched the bright explosion with a strange sense of excitement.
3 drones have already hit there. Can you believe it? And still, one of them hit the plant dead on. Now that was an explosion. They hit it. It's just an oil depot. No! There they go. Here come the parties.
Zelensky is likely to be in Alaska during the meeting between Trump and Putin. This was reported by CNN, citing its own sources in the White House. Reportedly, they're considering the possibility of inviting the president of Ukraine to the negotiations between the leaders of the US and Russia about ending the war in our country. But any events involving Zelensky, according to the media, would only take place after the planned meeting. Although Trump is ready for a 3-way meeting in Alaska, the White House is still only planning a one-on-one with Putin for now, according to Reuters. Representatives of the Russian and Ukrainian sides have not yet commented on the possibility of a joint conversation. Meanwhile, European leaders issued a joint statement and called on Trump to defend Ukraine's interests during his meeting with Putin. Earlier, the American president hinted at a possible exchange of our territories during upcoming negotiations, to which Zelensky responded, Ukrainians will not give up their land to the occupiers, and the end of the war must be fair and serve the security interests of European nations. Let me remind you, negotiations between the leaders of the US and Russia are scheduled for Friday, August 15th, in the American state of Alaska. And this is the only US territory that directly borders Russia. Many questions still remain unanswered, such as how the agreements will be implemented if Trump and Putin do manage to find common ground. What do you think about this? Write your thoughts in the comments below this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. In the meantime, I'll continue with the TSN broadcast. €3.2 billion to support Ukraine. The EU Council has approved the fourth regular payment under the Ukraine Facility Program. These funds are intended, in particular, to strengthen Ukraine's macro-financial stability and support the functioning of the state administration system. Overall, the Ukraine Facility Program provides for up to €50 billion in payments. The EU ties the provision of funds to Ukraine's implementation of reforms. Thus, the fourth tranche is over €1 billion less than planned because Kyiv did not carry out all the reforms it had promised the European Union. However, the amount announced today is larger than what was approved by the EU ambassadors. Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Sverdenko called the allocation of the payment a strong signal of trust in our reform path and our ability to maintain stability during the toughest times. Ukraine is imposing sanctions against Rosatom. The president has enacted the National Security and Defense Council's decision on restrictions affecting 18 individuals and 17 legal entities connected to the activities of the Russian enterprise. The sanctions target those involved in integrating the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant into Russia's energy system, as well as those who participated in the seizure of the Kornabil nuclear power plant. In addition, Ukraine is synchronizing its sanctions against Russian businesses with its foreign partners. As a result, two main sectors of Russia will come under restrictions: the energy sector and the military-industrial complex. This concerns a number of Gazprom neft enterprises located in Russia itself, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and even Luxembourg. These are companies that service the occupier shadow fleet, as well as traders involved in exporting Russian oil. Sanctions will also target manufacturers of equipment and components for the military-industrial complex, as well as an Indian company that owns a tanker transporting Russian liquefied gas. In this way, Ukraine has already fully synchronized with the U.S. sanctions imposed in January of this year.
Rosatom is a package in which, perhaps for the first time, we are identifying those individuals, including legal entities in European Union countries, who are part of this Rosatom network, which allows Russians and Rosatom to continue supplying their services to EU countries, thus maintaining, so to speak, their influence. As for the other package, synchronization with the United States, they had a very significant impact on the Russian machine, military, oil, and financial. Now we have fully synchronized these sanctions. The motivation is very simple. The more jurisdictions that apply sanctions to certain entities, the harder it is to circumvent those sanctions.